In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, I would like to welcome all of you to of today's lesson, which is going to be about Unit 4, Form, Meaning and Function. Today mainly we will going to practice some grammar. Okay, let's start by seeing the objectives of today's lesson. We are going to transform a request to a preferences and arrange recipe steps correctly, modify a recipe using correct words, classify expressions of quantity according to the type of nouns, point out quantity with correct expressions, and finally differentiate between countable or non-countable nouns. As usual, we will start by revising the previous lesson, which is writing from the pages 62 and 63. As you can see here, I told you to write a description of a memorable meal you once had, okay? And how we can do this by asking those questions: who, when, where, why, and of course, what. Also, I asked you to go and read the right corner here. We talked about brainstorming and picturing the occasions, okay? Then try to think of about the reader or the audience without offending, okay? Without offending him or them, okay? Then focus on the scene, people, the setting, okay, or the place, the events, or even feelings, to write those, as I said, about the holiday or this occasion and so on, okay? Very good. Now let's move to our lesson today. Today, inshallah, as we said earlier, we have form, meaning and function on pages 64 and 65. So please focus on board now. Can any one of you tell me what is this? What is this? It's a key. Very good. A key. Nice. What about this one? This is, we use it to write or to sign sometime. This is a pen. Nice. Okay. Now I'm saying that this is a key and this is a pen. As you can see here, I'm talking about singular. Why? Because today we are mainly talk about countable nouns. Countable nouns. Okay, now, what are those? What are those? Very good. Those are keys, okay? How many keys do we have here? How many? 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 keys. What about this one? How many? We have 1, 2, 3. Okay. How can we write this? We have here 3 pens. Okay, we have 3 pens. So the first one we talked about, we have keys. Okay. And the second one we have pens here. So countable nouns. Very good. Let's go to the next picture. Look at this one here. What do we have? This is a milk, or I cannot use a here. This is milk. Okay, this is milk. What about this one? This is sugar. Okay, this is sugar. So here I cannot use a milk or sugar here. Okay, why? Because of course this is non-countable. Non-countable. So here again, as we said earlier, if we can count these things like the previous one, keys and pens, I could use a and an, of course, the indefinite article. But here, what about milk? Okay, now we have 2. Okay, this is number 1. Sorry, this is number 1, and this is number 2. Of course, number 1, number 2. Can I say that sugars? No. Can I say milks? No at all. Okay, so here milk and sugar are non-countable. We cannot count them. We cannot. Of course, we can count, for example, cans and spoons and so on, but the material itself, like milk and sugar, we cannot count. Okay, so here it's called milk, not milks, or sugar, only without adding an S or the plural form. Okay, very good. Now let's move to see the countable and non-countable nouns, when we can use the countable and non-countable nouns. Please focus on the board. Counts noun or countable nouns, we can use them, one, with the singular form, okay, singular countable nouns, okay, or the plural. Okay, so I can use them, the countable with singular, okay, or plural. Very good. Okay, also we can be used with definite article. What do I mean by the definite one? And the indefinite article, I mean the okay, the indefinite a and an. Okay, a and an. Okay, let's see some examples. Okay, for example, the students did the homework. The students did the homework. Okay, because I'm talking about countable now. Here, what about the indefinite article? I ate a burger on the lunch. I ate a burger. So here I used a and of course the, okay, as definite and indefinite article. Now let's move to non-count or non-countable nouns. What about them? They are different from countable nouns. Why? Because we can't, okay, use the indefinite like a and an, cannot be used with indefinite articles. I cannot say a sugar or for example, or something like that. Or I cannot be expressed in plural form. We cannot add s, sugars. No. Okay, so here the non-countable nouns cannot be used with indefinite article, and the other one, it's number one, this is number two, cannot be expressed in plural form. Okay, then how can we use this? We can use it with definite article, the definite article the, of course. Okay, also without an article, we can use it without an article. For example, we listened to the rain during the storm. We listened to the rain. This is the definite article, of course, the. Here, rain is non-countable. Very good. What about this? He listened to music, okay? While music here is uncountable, so we cannot count music or something like that with using, for example, s, or I use a or an, for example. Okay, so I talked about the countable one, okay? This is the countable one. As I said earlier, I can use it with definite article and indefinite articles. I can use it in singular and plural. But the non-countable, okay, I cannot use it as plural. I cannot add s, okay, to the end of the word of the noun. Also, I cannot use it with the indefinite article, okay? And I said the example earlier, we listened to the rain. Okay, rain here is what? Is non-countable noun, also the music, okay? The music, but here I used it without article. He listened to music. He listened to music, okay? Very good. Now let's move to the second point of today's lesson, which is going to be about expressions of quantity. Of course, now we will talk about some and any. Then, inshallah, later we will talk about something different. But now, let's see the expression of some and any. Here, we use some in affirmative sentences. Okay, in affirmative sentences. Like what? There is some juice. There is some juice. Also, there are some fries. Look, I could use some in singular and plural. It's okay, fine. Okay, because I'm talking about the affirmative. the affirmative, not negative, the opposite of negative, affirmative. Okay? There is some juice and there are some fries. What about any here? Any. We use any, okay, in negative and questions. So I can use any in negative sentences like there isn't any juice. Look, what's the difference between the first and the second one? We said there is some juice, okay? But here, when we don't have any juice or something like that, so we don't have or there isn't any juice, okay? Or there aren't any fries, okay? There aren't any fries. What about questions? Also, we could use any in questions like, is there any juice? Or are there any fries? Okay, so I could use any in both situations, okay? Like the first one, negative, and the second one in questions. The second one in questions. Okay, guys? Very good. Why? Because now we are going to practice, okay? We're going to practice. But first, let's see would like here. We use would like to offer, okay? Would you like some, okay, orange juice? Would you like some tea? Okay, so here, usually when I say would and like, use would like for preferences. Give him something or to offer him something. For example, what would you like? What would you like? I'd like a steak sandwich, for example. Or sometime, would you like some mustard on it? So now this is a question, of course. Yes, please, or no, thank you. So here, when I say would like, I am giving you choices or preferences here. Okay, would you like some sandwiches? Okay, or something like that. So here, what would you like? I would like a steak sandwich. Okay, a steak sandwich. Here, I talked about preferences. Okay, would you like some tea? Good. Okay, here again, would and like. Let's go now to practice A, page 64. Complete the conversation. So you are going to complete the conversation between whom? Between Umar and Tony here, okay? Use some, any, order, and would like, okay? You can use the words more than once, then practice with a partner. Then we are going to see here the conversation between Tony and Umar. Let's start. Umar, is this Gino's Italian restaurant? Tony, yes it is. This is Tony speaking. How can I help you? Umar, I want to, then you have a space, you have to fill this space, some food for delivery. So here he is calling what? A restaurant. Very good, okay? So why did he call the restaurant? He want to order, okay? He want to order, for example, a delivery. Okay, so I want to what? I want to order some food for delivery. Tony, what you, okay, now I'm asking about preferences, guys, okay? We said earlier that we use would like, okay? Very good. Tony, would you like, okay, what would you like? Nice. Omar, I'd like, now I'm giving you the preference. Do not forget the negative, the affirmative, okay, also the questions. I'd like, okay, here now, minestrone soup and the lasagna bolognese, okay? So here I'm talking about what? I would like some, okay? I would like some. We are not using the negative state, okay? Do you have apple juice? This is a question. This is a question. So I have to use which kind of expression? Yeah, okay. Any apple juice. Very good. Sorry, we don't have. So this is a negative statement. Okay, so again, any juice. Would you like, now I'm giving him a choice or preference, would you like some coffee? Okay, would you like some coffee? Actually, we could use here some in questions and sometimes. Okay, sometimes I could use some in questions. Yes, please, 2 cups of hot coffee. Now look here, he said 2 cups. Okay, while coffee is not or it's non-countable. Okay, but if I used cups, for example, I could use 2 cups of hot coffee. Very good. Tony, anything else? Yes, don't forget to include what? Garlic bread, it's so delicious. Okay, so to include some garlic bread, it's so delicious. Okay, also, what is the other word for delicious? We talked about earlier. Do you remember from the reading and vocabulary building? It's called delectable. Okay, delectable. Don't forget this, guys. Very good. Let's move now to the second point of our lesson today, which is words connected with recipes. Would you like, or do you have some kind of recipes of your own? Very good, because if you do, today inshallah we will learn some words that might help you in preparing your recipes. Okay, let's start with, for example, look here at the chart here, okay, or at the table. Some words we commonly connect with recipes are, first, the dish, okay, or something like that. Quantity, okay, the quantity. Also, ingredients, oil, for example, eggs, salt, pepper, butter, milk, cheese, garlic, and herbs. Actions, what to do with this, okay? Then, utensils, okay, what to use, for example, knife, bowl, okay, pan, or something like that. Cooking method, frying, okay, baking, roasting, or grilling, something like that, okay? So here you have words, you could use it in your recipe, as you can see here, dish, appetizer, okay, or the main or the desserts. Okay, so the appetizer is starting with, for example, like giving you something to start with, the starters, okay, and the main dish, okay, which is with, for example, we have kabsa, for example, okay, the main dish. Desserts, we talked about the cheesecake, talked about the raspberry, the cookies, and so on. Okay. Quantity, of course, we have half, quarter, cup, teaspoon, and so on. Ingredients, we talked about this one. Actions, what we are going to do with this one. Measure, add, okay. Also chop, mix, spread, or tea, or something like that. We have knife, also bowl, and so on. The cooking method, we talked about frying, grilling, okay, baking, and so on. Okay, as you can see here, the pasta with tomato sauce, this is a recipe, this is an actual recipe you could use, for example, doing what? Doing the pasta, okay? Very good. Now, let's move to the final slide of our lesson today, which is going to be about expressions of quality. We talked about this earlier, some and any, but now this is something different, okay? We have few, a little, a lot of, much, many, and enough. Look, guys, in countable and non-countable, we could use some of those words, okay, with countable only, okay, and the rest with non-countable. For example, the countable here, we use, for example, a few, okay. Here, you need a few tomatoes. Okay. While in non-countable, we use a little. You need a little cheese. What about here? Tomatoes. Okay. So this is plural. So I used a few. While here we have cheese. This is non-countable. We cannot use the plural form. Also, we added a little. I eat I eat many vegetables. So I used many with countable. What about here? Non-countable, I use much. I don't eat much bread. I don't eat much bread. So here I'm talking about the non-countable. In questions to ask about countables, okay, we use how many. While in here in non-countable we use how much. How much milk do you want, okay? Or do you drink, for example? Okay. While in countable, how many bananas do you eat? How many bananas do you eat? Here, as I said earlier. But you should notice this. Use a lot of and enough for both countable and non-countable. Okay. We could use a lot of and enough, okay, in both countable and non-countable. How? I ate a lot of eggs. Okay, a lot of eggs. This is countable. But I don't eat a lot of bread. This is non-countable. Bread. Non-countable noun. I don't eat enough fruit. What does it mean enough? It means that I have, for example, the little things, the little amount of something, okay, the least amount of something. I don't eat enough fruit. I don't drink enough water, okay? Don't eat and I don't drink enough water. So enough here, it means the least amount of something. Okay, so as I said earlier, we use a lot of and enough in both countable and non-countable nouns. Finally, here, sequence words. What do I mean by sequence? For example, if you have a story and you want to tell this story for somebody or your friends or brothers, something like that, you need to use sequence to tell in order to tell this story. For example, first, second, then, okay, finally. So here, today, inshallah, mainly, we will focus on that, okay, using those words. First, then, after that, and of course, finally, to add the final story or to finalize the story, for example, okay? So here, as you can see, this is an example. First, you mix the flour and the eggs. First, you mix. Then, what happened after I mixing them? Then, you add a little butter. Okay, you add a little butter. After that, okay, after that, you put in a teaspoon of baking powder. Finally, what will happen? Finally, you will let it rise. Okay, so here I used a sequence. Okay, first, then, after that, and of course, finally. Of course, finally. Very good. Now let's move to make recipe, okay, of your own, of course, and by the help of this one, how to make a pizza. So here I'm talking about making a pizza here. So complete the recipe. Use what? After or before. And you can see here how many times I could use before, twice, first, finally, and then also twice. Okay, let's start. So here, the first one, I should use what? At the beginning. You should use before you start, okay? Check that you have all the ingredients, okay? All ingredients I'm talking about. The flour, for example, here I'm talking about the spoon, the salt, milk, and so on. The sauce also, okay? Number 2. Then put 3 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3 teaspoons of baking powder into a bowl, okay? Just like this one. Okay, so here, put it into a bowl. Add half a cup of milk. You have to add half cup of milk, okay? Where? 1 tablespoon of margarine and 1 egg to the ingredients in the bowl. Okay, so you have to put it also in the bowl and mix them well to make the dough. Okay, then number 4. Here we said first, then after you have made the dough, let it stand for about how much? Okay, or sorry, how many minutes do we have? 30 minutes. Okay, then before you spread the dough, make sure it has risen enough. Then spread it evenly on the pan using your fingers, just like this one here. Okay, using your fingers. Finally, you cover it with cheese and tomato sauce and let it bake in very hot oven for about 30 minutes. Okay, and this recipe could serve 3 people. 3 people. Okay, so now you have a good recipe for making a pizza. Okay, a good recipe for making a pizza. So now let's go back and see the objectives of today's lesson. Transform a request to a preferences using would like. Okay, arrange recipe steps correctly using first, after that, then, finally. Modify a recipe using correct words, as he said earlier, dish, appetizers, and so on. Classify expressions of quantity according to the type of nouns, countable and non-countable. Point out quantity with a correct expressions. Finally, differentiate between countable and non-countable nouns. I would like to thank all of you for watching us today. Thank you, and inshallah I will see you tomorrow.